So we are back talking episode 5 of HBO's The Third Day, titled Tuesday the Daughter, where we see Helen help someone on the island that needs her. Elle has a new best friend, and we get the return of Jess, and she scared the hell out of me in this episode. We're going to talk about that and much more. Episode 5 of The Third Day was titled Tuesday the Daughter. As the islanders prepare for a faithful birth, Helen reveals her true intentions in coming to OC, and after joining a search party, is pressed on her past. A particular girl befriends Ellie and offers to take her to a mysterious place closed off to the outsiders. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with my weekly review, breakdown, and recap of the latest episode of HBO's The Third Day. We're talking episode 5, which means next week is the finale. Man, time flies. I'm so excited to let you all know what I thought about this 5th episode in this non-spoiler discussion before we dive into the details. As you can see on the screen now, make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts. That way you all can stay up to date on what's going on over here at Movie Files. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Definitely subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you don't miss any of my other HBO TV show reviews, movie reviews, live streams, all the fun things we do on this very channel. Make sure you all give this video a thumbs up. Really helps out the channel, but I also really appreciate it. And in the comments, as well as the people that are watching this live premiere, let me know your thoughts on this episode, your pros, your cons, your theories into next week's finale, and let's have some fun discussions in the comments below. So before I even dive into my overall thoughts and get into this recap, I will address something. So last week, there was a really lively discussion that got a little heated at times in the comments regarding Helen. Now, I know no way am I condoning Helen putting her daughters in danger and going to OC, which, by the way, the show is fictional. It's not factual, anything real, right? But either way, into the story, I know some people were very kind of on a debate that got a little, like I said, a little serious at times. But for me, guys, I just want to say the way I took Helen as the character, plus number one, I took the 5th or the 4th episode as a build up to where we're getting with this show, episode 5 and leading to 6. But I kind of took Helen being on the island as her wanting to be there because, number one, we know the island somewhat has this kind of supernatural ability or this belief, this religious belief that the island absorbs pain, and people that are going through pain tend to gravitate towards that. So that's how I kind of took Helen being there. And then also, too, as I had mentioned in my review, I took it as Helen knew that Sam was on that island some way, somehow. We know that he called her in episode 4. I don't know if she pinged the call, if she traced the location, but I always took it as her being there and bringing her daughters with her, not knowing that they were going to be in harm's way, and nor were they per se last week, but her bringing them was a way of her convincing Sam to come home to his family and kind of using her daughters as kind of like, you're going to leave your girls alone and your wife alone. So that's how I kind of took it. So I just wanted to address that because, like I said, there were some really awesome comments, and there were some comments that got a little bit, like I said, kind of crossed the line with one another in regards to just how they interpreted the Helen character, how she was poorly written as a black woman. It got really heated. So check out that review, check out the comments, and share your thoughts on that. But either way, we're here talking about episode 5. Let's get into this recap. Starting off with Helen appearing to having a dream about Sam, and she's woken up by a screaming woman. As we know, that woman is revealed to be Jess. And, you know, she goes downstairs, and then I'm saying this jokingly, she leaves her daughters in a room as she did multiple times last week. I'm only joking, so let's not get crazy about Helen again. But either way, we kind of move forward. Helen goes downstairs and looks out the window, and she sees that the islanders are arguing, which they tend to do since the very beginning of this episode, but more recently with the division that we'll talk about that I had mentioned in my review last week on the island, especially with Sam. So we see, you know, from what I had talked about last week, from what I saw, you know, the big moments of that autumn 12-hour live stream, you know, it was kind of hinted at and kind of revealed that Jess was pregnant, and we see that that is the case in this episode, that she is pregnant, no doubt. And you know, that's a great callback for not only for those that watched the autumn episode, but also a great callback to episode 2, where we saw Sam and Jess have that one night stand, and Jess kind of jokingly said, you know, I get pregnant quite easily, and lo and behold, she is pregnant. I'm not gonna lie, at first I was kind of thinking in my head, the timeline doesn't match up, because if we are to assume that Sam came there at the summer and then this is the winter, I'm thinking in my head, well, I guess the beginning of June, which is technically summer, is kind of the 22nd in June, at least in the U.S. And then the end of winter is like close to the end of March. So I guess that's 9 months, but we end up finding out that Sam's been there for over a year. And we'll obviously talk about that a little bit later. But we kind of move forward. We see that Mrs. Martin mentions to Jason after he says to her that she's one of ours, referring to Jess, or maybe referring to just the baby and not necessarily the mother of the child. But it's funny that Mrs. Martin says, oh, we're a community again, huh? Again, alluding to this division that I had mentioned that this island is going on based on the episode or the moments I saw the autumn episode and based on what we saw from last week's episode. So we kind of move forward. Again, we see the island has definitely been torn apart. We move forward. We see Jess maybe having some issues with the baby. And meanwhile, Helen has no idea that is her husband's child. And I'm just thinking to myself, where is the father? Where is Sam? Where is the father? Literally in the sense of the dad of this child, but also the father of this island. So thought that was interesting there. But Helen wants to help Jess because in her past, she was a veterinarian. I don't know if Sam mentioned that when he was talking to Ebola in episode 1. If she was, I know they said they used to be like a gardener or whatever the case would be, but she used to be a veterinarian, and she agrees to help Jess. And we see in this moment, I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, that's pretty interesting that they both have 2 girls, and before we know that it's ultimately a girl that she has, I'm like, oh, is she going to have a boy? Which we know Nathan was a boy. So I'm like, wow, this is a lot of coincidental things happening. And I'm not going to lie to you, within this scene, was it just me? But when Helen was kind of readjusting the baby, it kind of made me like, oh, I don't know why I just thought like it was going to be like bones cracking. It just really kind of made me uncomfortable because I'm just thinking like, oh, the baby's in so much pain. Oh, Jess is in so much pain. That scene just kind of got to me personally, but that might just be me. Let me know in the comments. But as we kind of move forward, a quick shout out to the parents of Charlotte, who plays Tallulah, as they call Lou in this show. Her parents are so great. I'm in a group chat or a group on Facebook, and they had shared that they are the parents, and they gave, shared some photos. So I thought that was really cool. But by the way, guys, I thought that Tallulah Lou was so great in this episode. She has some great one-liners. She was like very funny to me, and she was also just a really good actress in this episode, especially towards the end. Well, throughout the entire episode, but really in the end of the episode, that she really kind of got to me. But I thought it was kind of funny when she was talking to her sister TV version of her sister. Elle tells her, when she says something to her very funny. But it was really interesting in this scene here. We see, her saying to Elle that Elle was her mother. So, Elle says that, Lou is her mother's favorite. And then her rebuttal was, well, you're Dad's favorite. And by the way, Dad's a psycho. That's why he left us. So that goes back to my comments last week. It's like, okay, do they think that Sam's dead? Do they think he left? Well, they think he left, and he had no reasons of leaving outside of the son being dead. And it seems like he's done this before, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So they don't think he's dead, but he just kind of left his family high and dry. We see Tallulah make fun of Elle's belief in praying, and out of the shadows, we see, I believe, Jess's daughter name is Kel, which, by the way, that actress, she's great in The Witcher. If you guys haven't seen that show, definitely check it out. But she's defending Ellie, and in this moment, she's being a 13, 14-year-old, kind of poking fun at Lou as she tells her that Lou is spending so much time on her tablet. Pokemon, I didn't know Pokemon was still a popular thing, but apparently it is. She tells her she's playing with Pokemon. Again, she's being, kind of fun in a way. She calls her a sheep, and then it gets pretty dark pretty quickly. She calls her a sheep, but in doing so, she says, what happens to sheep? They get slaughtered. I'm like, okay, that you crossed the line there, Kale. So as we kind of see, is very interesting kind of parallels within these scenes. We're seeing the 2 daughters, Elle, and again, I think her name is Kale. We see them 2 kind of getting along, and on the opposite side of that wall, we see their mothers are getting along, and it's just like, lo and behold, do you guys know that you're actually family? It's like, it's just so interesting, right, to seeing that kind of parallel. But we see Jess tells Helen that the baby is special and didn't ask for it, but it comes to her, and she thanks Helen for that. So again, keep those words in mind, that this baby is very special, coming from Jess. So big moments throughout this entire episode where, and this is one of them, we see Mr. Martin thanking Helen and thanking her for her help, and tells her she was perfect. It was perfect timing, this, that, and the other. And then Helen takes it upon herself to ask Mr. Martin a question, which is, have you seen this man on her phone? And it is a picture of Sam, and this is where we kind of get the full breakdown or the timeline of how long Sam's been missing. So we find out that he's been gone for over a year now. No calls, no word, just simply disappeared. And Sam's has done this before. Has Sam left to go to this island before? Has Sam left to go to, maybe Jess's husband's island? Because apparently Jess's husband was in a cult. Again, going back to my, has he gone to OC before? There was that line that, he said that he had visited OC before when he was talking to the architect. So this is maybe, we know that he went there before, so does he go there on a regular? Very interesting kind of things to think about there. I could be completely wrong, but let me know what you guys think. Where does Sam go when he has these kind of moments? So see that she asks, or she tells Mr. Martin that, the big question last week, why is she on this island? Why is she endangering her daughters? Well, we get a little bit behind the scenes where 2 weeks before she arrived at the island, she received an email about Sam being there and to get him off the island before the 14th. Now, the 14th is a very important day because that's Jess's expected pregnancy date, and she continuously has babies on the 14th. Coincidental that the 14th is, I don't know if it's a pivotal number in the Bible or is there some significance to that number, but the 14th is the day they need to get off that island. But the biggest thing I want to know is, Helen says that it sounded like a child wrote the email. Was it Kel, Jess's daughter? Was it Nathan, Helen's daughter? Who wrote that email, guys? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And, and I think it's Kale because she would know her mom's pregnancy. Again, she was born the 14th. Her sister was born the 14th. Now her newborn brother or sister, she doesn't know what gender is going to be until it's ultimately revealed that it's a daughter. But I think that Kale may have reached out to Helen and emailed her that. But let me know who you guys think wrote that email to her. But she also mentions that the police had called her about a city planner who we know Sam talked to that city planner in episode 1. And that person that was arrested or that called the police, the city planner told them that Sam was on OC. So again, just kind of puts that conversation aside that we had last week of like, why is she there? Why is she endangering her daughters? She knew that her husband was on this island, or at least she assumed that he was on this island based on that information. So as we kind of move forward, Mr. Martin plays He plays it so well, right? By the way, that actor, Paddy Considine, who, by the way, was great earlier this year in The Outsider, which was an HBO show that I highly recommend you all check out. And when you do, check out my reviews for The Outsider. He was great in that show. And then it was announced, as I'm recording this like a couple days ago, that he is going to be the lead King Targaryen in the House of Dragons. So kudos to him. But either way, I thought that he was just great as he was kind of, convincingly telling Helen that he didn't know who Sam was. He's never seen him. He was just playing it so coy, right? And he was pretending he was going to tell the other islanders and ask them if they've seen him. I'm like, okay, you're doing your thing, Mr. Martin, convincing her that you don't know who Sam is. So as we kind of move forward, we see Helen talking to the cowboy, which a lot of people in the comments thought that the cowboy was Jude Law in prosthetics, but it wasn't him. It's another actor. He's, talking to Helen about the division of the island after the festival that was supposed to bring the island together did the complete opposite of that and kind of tore the island apart. He also mentions that he's not from the island, and he tells her about how the island can heal her if she lets it. Again, the whole idea of this island, guys, we got to remember the origins of the island was to put people that were suffering on this place to find relief of their pain. And remember that most of those people that kind of inhabited the island at first were criminals. So we got to keep that all in mind that, there's a lot going on with this island and pain and how it was originated. So always something to remember. We find out, a couple minutes later that Jess is missing. She's run away. We get a story briefly with Elle about what actually happened with those girls at school. We find out that she hit one of the girls with a rock. And, she obviously did that because those little girls were poking fun at her dead brother, Nathan, or she assumed was dead, her brother, Nathan. So we kind of, again, pain, a running theory or a running theme throughout this show. She has pain that she has to deal with, hence Kel going to her and her having this kind of connection and want to find out this mystery and this religion of this island. So again, it's all kind of coming together, right? And she tells her about the island OC, the heart and the soul. Again, we continue to hear this, and it's just so crazy hearing Kel say this. She's so convinced about the island and its powers. And it also made me think, man, like hearing Kel being so passionate about OC, will we meet her dad? Will we meet Jess's ex-husband or current husband that is the father of her two daughters? I wonder if we'll meet him in the finale, and I wonder if who it's going to be revealed to be. That would be really interesting if it's Mr. Martin or something. But we kind of move forward. Mr. Martin tells Helen that he asked around and nobody's seen Sam, and maybe that he, again, being very convincing, Mr. Martin was, that she should move on. She should find someone that loves her, that wouldn't leave her and her kids. Very convincing, because in doing so, this is where we see Helen, as a lot of you all wanted her to do last week, packing her bags and trying to get off of this island. But she's unfortunately stopped from leaving the island because they convinced her to stay to help find pregnant Jess, who's run away. A little small detail here, but I thought it was something important. We see Tallulah Lou, she notices a fish head on the body of a squirrel. And we've seen these weird kind of metamorphoses being created by someone on the island of testing these animals. And I'm still saying, I've been saying it for weeks now, I think this person that's doing this, we saw the goat last week with the baby in the stomach. I think this is Nathan, man. I think this is Nathan, as Sam said a couple weeks ago, that he's in his cruel stages. And first it was killing insects, and now, if he's, someone mentioned he might be the Antichrist, he's testing insects. Now he's moving on up to animals and killing them and changing their body parts. Is he going to move on to humans next? Let me know if you guys think this is Nathan doing all these weird kind of experiments with these animals and squirrels and fishes and goats. Let me know your guys' thoughts on that, if he's going to graduate to testing on humans. We move forward. We see Alan apologizing to Helen about the whole racist little thing that we got last week. And this is where Helen's like, oh, well, have you seen my husband? Mr. Martin, he showed you the picture. And he's like, yeah, Mr. Martin, he showed me the picture. And obviously Helen, he's not a good liar, because Helen was able to call him on his BS, and she's suspicious of the situation now. So places aren't special. They're just places, as Helen says right after calling the cowboy a believer, and his response was, what about the place that they found your dead son? I'm like, whoa, bro, you're kind of going to that level. And and brings up her grief, and she handled it pretty well. I was not expecting her to handle it that well, but he kept poking at the bear, right? And after another surprising response, he says that, you're lost your little angel. And this was very surprising. She says, Nate was no angel. Again, this first we hear from Sam saying that his son was cruel. Now we're hearing from the mother. Again, that person in the comments last week saying that Nate might be the Antichrist, or he might be the Omen child himself, might be correct. As we kind of move forward, we see she goes into more details talking about her son, how difficult he was, how much anger he had, and how violent he was. Goes back again to my animal torture theory. I think Nathan is just this little Hannibal Lecter, ghost, or not Ghostface, but Leatherface, just kind of crazy little psycho Ted Bundy almost, killing these animals. So again, I think that's Nathan, man, doing these cruel things. But the cowboy keeps pressing at her, which I found it very strange that Helen continued to kind of tell him things about, how she felt about her son. But, she was just kind of caught off guard, I guess. But, she kept talking so badly about what she thinks is a dead son. She doesn't know that Nathan's still alive, and some people think that he isn't still alive, that they're kind of dead, and we'll see what happens in the finale. But as we kind of move forward, as he continues to press her, I'm thinking to myself, he's continuing to press her because maybe he wants to use this against Nate being the new father. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of that. But we see Helen tell him about the last thing she said to Nate, which was she wished that he was never born. I'm like, whoa, man, that's some heavy stuff there. We see the cowboy really kind of cross the line and literally pushes Ellen and tells her to release the pain, to fill that hole that Nathan left, and this, that, and the other. And they're interrupted by the drunk guy from last week's episode, and kind of a comic relief in his response, which this episode had a little bit more comedy, a little bit more levity than usual. We see Lou tells Elle that she doesn't think that, that Elle reminds her of her father, and apologizes and all that stuff. And she asks her about what happened with the girls, and, Elle's response was she wished that she wasn't in that position, right? She wished that she didn't have a dead brother. She wished that she wouldn't have that anger. So I thought that was a nice moment between the two sisters. Again, pain. We notice she has that pain inside of her. And we also noticed that, Tallulah, she doesn't really have that. I don't know if this is just a matter of her being so much younger. She didn't really have, the most memorable relationship with her brother Nathan, or if it's just a matter of her just being, a younger child and not having those emotional type of feelings quite yet. So really interesting stuff there. But we see the drunk from last week lets it slip out that it was Sam's fault that the island is the way that it is, and Helen hears that. She hears that word Sam, and her ears definitely perk up. And he mentions when Helen shows him the picture that you can see the darkness in his eyes. I believe his name was Jamie, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know in the comments. But as we kind of move forward, Helen confronts Mr. Martin as he continues to lie, but Mrs. Martin kind of steps in and just tells her the whole truth. She tells her that he's no longer there. He left the island 3 months ago. He apparently started a bunch of drama on the island, and that's why the island split up. Mr. Martin tells her that Sam fell in love with another woman, aka Jess. As we know, Mrs. Martin knows where he is but doesn't say anything, but Helen continues to say that he's not in a right place. He left his kid, he left his family with all this debt and all this stuff going on, and then that kind of convinces Mr. Martin to tell her the truth. And the truth. She tells Helen that he left to go back to the family, which we know that was a lie. Again, we can't trust the Martins, right? And it could be one of those things where they're trying to protect her, I guess, to get off the island, to move on. But, they ultimately did lie to her. So again, we kind of move forward, and they tell her that she has 10 minutes to leave off the island, which again, Lou was just killing it this episode. She's like, finally. I thought she was just so great in this episode. But of course, Elle tells her mom that she wants to stay after meeting Kale, and it was just like, get your butt in the car. You guys can get off this island. She decides to get in the car. As they're driving, they notice that Jess which is really interesting. We see Jess walking towards the sea, or walking towards the water, alluding to her wanting to go on a swim, to harm herself, to kill herself. But then we know how important that baby is. So I don't know. Let me know how you guys interpreted her walking into the water. Either way, we see Helen stops her from going further in the water. They bring her into a place, and the baby's coming. So as we kind of wrap up the episode, we see Kale, who again was just so creepy this episode, walks out of nowhere and offers a key to Elle. And Elle's like, no, I can't. I have to watch my sister. And she again walks away all creepy, like alluding, like, come on, you want to see what I want to show you, as we ultimately do. But Jess has her baby, and it's a girl, not a boy. So I'm thinking to myself, maybe she wanted to harm herself because she wanted a boy. The island wants a boy, and if she doesn't have a boy, they're gonna harm her or make her have another boy. Like, I'm just like thinking in my head or whatever, but it ends up being a girl. And we hear Jess say yet again, she matters so much. So Jess and Helen, what a day, right? They're having a conversation about the 14th. She asks her what day it is, which is the 14th, which is the same day that was mentioned in the email that Sam needs to get off the island before the 14th. Again, I'm thinking it's Kale that sent that email, but let me know who you guys think that was that sent that email there. But Helen says, "Oh, I bet Jason's gonna be so happy to have this baby girl," and Jess is like, "Jason, this ain't his baby. My baby's father's name is Sam." Boy, my jaw, I'm like, oh boy, the face that Helen had just caught me, guys. She plays it coy. Again, Helen was playing very coy this episode. She didn't lose it like I thought she was in many different moments, but she plays it coy. And, Jess tells her about the one night stand that she had and all this stuff, and that, the baby was meant to be here, right now. And it was so important that Helen was there, and to get him, and then, that it's so important that Helen was there. And Jess mentions to Helen, well, can you go get him, by the way? And she's like, go get him. He's here. He's on the island. And that's a big moment. And she mentions that he's in a big house, and they haven't spoken in a while, and because of everything that's going on, and he needs to see his baby girl. And Helen Kylie asks, where's that big house? I'll go help him out and go find him for you. Helen gives girls her two daughters instructions to take care of Jess, which again, I know you guys are gonna be like, why does she keep leaving her daughters? It is what it is, man. She's trying to find her husband so she can take her whole family home, not knowing that they're gonna be, chased by a woman that wants to kill one of her daughters. But as we kind of move forward, she gives them instructions to look over Jess and to to look over her essentially, and Jess, don't mention anything about us to Jess. Don't say anything about us. Helen needs to do this one thing, and they'll be leaving. So Elle decides to leave Lou with Jess to go follow Kel to this special place, and her, not knowing that she's going to be hanging out and meeting her new step sister, right? But they run. We see Elle and Kel go to this special place, which we'll talk about here right now. We see they go in this like creepy area, and we see that there's images on the wall that seem to be playing out the rituals of the island. We see they come across a person on a cross, which may be Jesus, may be someone on the island. But Kel tells her that this place is where people would go to worship and for being persecuted for believing in OC's beliefs. So are there still people on the island that goes to this place to worship? It seems that seems to be the case. Are there some islanders that aren't believers that are on this island? Very interesting stuff here. We see Kel tells her that salt and soil, it needs to be balanced. We've heard this several times in the past. She tells Elle about the connections between when OC's bad, the world's bad, and how, all these bad things that happen in the world was due to OC not being in a good place. And again, she's telling, kind of preaching to the choir, right? And kind of making this kind of girl who believes in religion kind of believe in their religion, right? As she tells her, you need to open up, you need to feel OC, because if you do so, in return, OC will love you. Which she's just, again, feeding this into her head. We see, and as the episode wraps up, poor Lou, man, this little 9-year-old being so kind, having small talk with Jess, and she lets it slip out, unfortunately, that her mom had 3 kids. One of them passed away, and the name of that kid was Nathan. And then that's where we see Jess kind of putting the pieces to the puzzle together. And man, Jess just went crazy. This is where it kind of scared me, especially for Lou. Jess takes the phone, and then we see her grab a knife real quickly and hides it behind her back. And man, ladies and gentlemen, Jess proceeds to walk towards Lou and go on about how the island needs a new leader, and there's a bunch of bad ideas that's been in place, and they've that the new baby should be the new leader, and she needs her rightful place. And Jess gets really crazy, man. And it makes sense that she's where Kel gets her craziness from, or her creepiness from, is for her own mother here. But smart Lou, she gets out of there. She runs out of there so quickly, and I'd assume run towards her mom or run towards safety away from crazy Jess. But as we wrap up the episode, Helen walks towards the big house. We see Sam looking over the water, turns his head, sees his wife Helen, calls out for her. They lock eyes. The end of the episode, and we get this beautiful overlook of OC. And man, this was a great episode, guys. I thought this episode was fantastic. This reminded me, right behind episode 3, still my favorite episode, but this is right up there as far as just like the build up. I love how this episode built into that conclusion and how it's setting up what I hope to be a great finale. So let me know in the comments, guys. Again, I know last week we had talked about everything about how Helen was a terrible mom and she was poorly written, but I hope you all stuck around and watched this episode and let me know what you guys thought of Helen, what you guys thought of the reveals, and what you hope to see next week. So my question for you all, I'm going to probably just do a standard traditional review like I've been doing, but something I do a lot on this channel is I do watch along. So in the comments, and for those that are watching this live stream premiere, let me know if you guys would be okay or be down or be interested in a live stream watch along episode 6 finale breakdown the night that it premieres. So as soon as it premieres at 8 a.m. October 19th, I want to say, we'll all come on my YouTube channel and we'll watch it together. Meaning that I'll play my copy on my computer, you'll play your copy on your computer, your tablet, your phone, your TV, and we'll watch the episode together and we'll break it all down together. So let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in, and I would be so down to do that, to talk about the show that we all seem to love. So let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in doing. But again, I thought this episode was fantastic, sets up a great finale, which I hope it is a great finale. They stick the landing, but I really enjoyed this episode. I thought all those reveals were just so well put together, and it was such a great kind of payoff to what we've gotten in the previous 4 episodes. So again, make sure you let me know your thoughts of this episode. Make sure you like this video, share this video, comment your thoughts in the live chat, comment your thoughts on the replay in the comment section, and let me know if you guys would be interested in doing a watch along for the season finale come next week. So again, guys, thank you guys for the continued support. Hope you check out all my other coverage for other shows that I watch on HBO, other shows I watch on TV, movies, live streams, all the fun things we do on this channel. Hope you guys are staying safe, and we'll see you on the next video.